This training video is for the Ohio DOT Open Roads Designer Road Training, and this is for Section 505, our corridor modeling exercises, and this is the exercise for State Route 185 corridor. So to get started, I have ProjectWise Explorer open, and I have my folder location open for my base maps, and I'm going to open the KM001 design file that was created in the previous video. Okay, with the design file open, I'm going to get started by attaching the references that I need to process my corridor. So I'm going to start from the Open Roads Modeling Workflow, and I'm happen to be on the Corridors tab. Over to the left, we have the References icon here, so I'll go ahead and open it that way. If you're on a different tab, if you're on the Home tab, of course, you can just pick from the Attach Tools the References dialog there. In either case, I'm going to attach a reference file, and I'm going to start by attaching the survey information. So it's in the 300 survey folder under base maps, and I have one field book that has my survey data and my terrain model, and I'm going to attach that using a coincident world method. These are all in the same coordinate system, and my live nesting value is set to a nest depth of 0. Once that's attached, I'll do a fit by double tapping my mouse wheel button. Zoom in with the mouse wheel, and I'm going to select the terrain model itself, so I have the boundary displayed, and from the pop-up menu on the terrain, I'm going to set that as the active terrain model. Now, as soon as I set that as active, you'll see this has created a self-reference to a new model that was created, the Design 3D model. So that model was created in this file, in my KM001 file, and then self-referenced. Typically, when I'm working with corridors, I don't want to see that, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the display off for that. Now I need to get my center line that I'm going to process, so I'm going to go ahead and attach it into the file. So from the 400 engineering folder, under roadway, base maps, I'm going to use the BK000 file. I haven't done this in the other videos. I've purposely just chosen the file that I want, but I have a few different center lines that I'd like to see. I'd like to see all the proposed center lines. So I'm going to choose this file and OK that. And again, using coincident world, everything's on the same coordinate system, but I'm going to change my live nesting value to a depth of 1. I'll go ahead and OK that. Now I should see some center lines and alignments come in, and I do see that the proposed information is not showing up, so I do need to check my levels. So I'm still on the Home tab, and I'll use the Level Display dialog. If I pick that BK000 file, I can see that across different references, some of these different levels are on. So I'm going to expand this out. I can see each of the different references. So I really don't need to see my existing State Route 185 information. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those levels off. Same with existing on, I'll leave St. Peter Road existing on, but I do want to turn off the existing Jameson Road information. So my proposed 185, let's go ahead and turn that alignment, curve data and stations on, and the same thing with my proposed Jameson Road design file. So it's the BK004 and BK005. While I'm in here, I'm going to turn off a few survey levels that I don't need to see. So I'm going to pick the field book file, and really don't need to see the center of pavement. That's not a geometric center line, that's a crown that was surveyed. I'm going to turn off the survey break lines, random points, and shot markers as well. And once I've made those changes, I'm going to go ahead and save the file and save settings. So now I'm ready to take a look at processing my corridor. So again, I'm still on the Open Roads Modeling Workflow. I changed to the Corridors tab, and I've got some templates defined, and these were defined in a previous exercise. I'll go ahead and take a quick look at those. So I have a folder here for State Route 185, and I have one template currently created for State Route 185. If I double tap that to make it active, I can see that I've got 2 lanes and shoulder with some side slopes defined for cut and fill conditions. So this is the template that I'm going to use to process on my corridor. So there's a couple different ways I can initiate the process. From the corridors tab, I can pick the new corridor icon here. Or if you'd like, if I use my element selection tool, I can select the center line itself and let the pop-up menu come up and pick the create corridor icon from the pop-up menu. The only real difference here is that the corridor will be named using the same name as my alignment. So it's asking me to choose the profile that I want to use and reset for the active profile. So I'm just going to issue a right mouse click to reset and use the active profile. It's defined in my geometry file. And there I can see it's defaulting to the feature name, which is the same as my center line. I'm going to use the same name. Before I accept that, I do want to mention the feature definition here. So for a corridor, there's 5 different feature definitions available. And these are intended to be used iteratively as you work on your design. So we're starting with a conceptual design, moving on to a design stage and then final design and a couple different final options, displaying contours or displaying mesh elements. So I'm going to leave that in conceptual. And the biggest thing that this does for me is there is a multiplier associated with each of these design stages. So in conceptual, the multiplier is 5. So I'm going to end up defining a template drop interval, or how often I want the software to apply the template to the alignment. And the conceptual design stage will multiply that by 5. So when we get to the parameter that we're entering our template drop, I'll mention that again. So I'll just go ahead and left click to accept the feature name. And it takes me to the next step. And this is where I'm going to define my beginning and ending station for my template, what template I'm using, and there's that template drop parameter. So these parameters are all floating on the cursor, and you can just choose them from the cursor or choose them from the tool settings dialog. If you're going to work off the floating dialog, this first one asking for the template, obviously can't scroll over to pick the template there, but it says alternate down to browse templates. So if I hit the alternate key and the down arrow key on my keyboard, it'll open the pick templates dialog. I could also get that by just choosing the little ellipse icon here. So I'll just expand this out and pick my SR185 template and OK that. And now I'll left click to accept that. Now it's asking me for a start station. I'm going to run this for the entire length of the alignment. So I'm going to use the option here to use the alternate key to lock to the start. So I'll go ahead and push the alternate key and it locks to the beginning station. Left click to accept. Now it's asking for an end, and I'll do the same thing. Alternate key to lock to the end. Left click to accept. So here's my template drop interval, and this will be multiplied by the template multiplier in the design stage. And I mentioned the conceptual design stage has a multiplier of 5. So I'm going to use a drop interval of 5, and then by that multiplier, I'll end up with this template applied every 25 feet. So the other stages, the design stage has a multiplier of 2, and then the final stage has a multiplier of 1. So I'll go ahead and accept that drop interval of 5. Now it's asking for transitions before and after, and I don't have any transitions between different templates, so I'll just accept a value of 0 for both of those. So at this point, it's going ahead and applying the template to the center line and profile, and then I can see I have some 2D graphics drawn for the results. So there's a couple different sets of graphics that are drawn. I think these are discussed in some of the supplemental videos, but I'll mention them here, that there are 2D graphics as well as 3D graphics drawn as a result of the corridor process. So these 2D graphics, they are in the KM file, but you could use these for your planned production if you'd like to do that. So I have the edge pavement lines, edge of shoulder, some ditch lines, and whatnot here. If I want to take a look at the 3D model, one of the things I can do is just hold down the right button, and under the view control option, I can pick two views, plan and 3D. So that will show me the model as well. If I zoom in on that, I can see the elements that are created here. So again, a lot of this is covered in one of the supplemental videos that talks about corridor modeling. So I'll refer you to those supplemental videos to dig in a little deeper on some of those graphics that are drawn, both in the 2D and in the 3D. So before I wrap up the video, I'm going to go ahead and save the file and save my settings. and then I'll choose the File tab, and I'll exit the file now that I'm done. And ProjectWise is going to confirm, or ask me to confirm, whether I want to check the files back in. Just update the server copy, which will leave them checked out to me, but update them on the server. Free it, which will disregard all of my changes, or close it, which won't interact with the server at all. It'll just keep my local changes. So I'm going to choose the check-in option to check the design file and the template library back into ProjectWise. So that completes this exercise.